Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, November 16th, 2017, and we're just getting set up for WGAN TV live at 5. We have a great program for you coming up, and now you hear the feedback, and that's actually part of our tech setup. So if you're just watching this on YouTube, if you just fast forward into the future about 10 minutes, you'll see our program. So in the meantime, if you just bear with me while I actually do our little tech setup here for the program, and then we'll actually do another opportunity to have a feedback loop that'll just make sure that I get to confirm that our sound is working in the forum. So anyway, I can't talk and walk at the same time. So if you bear with me here, got a little geeky step to do to go live in the We Get Around Network forum. Okay, good. And now we'll see if we can go live in the forum, and we should get another feedback loop here. So let's close that window. Let's turn that sound on. Just take me a second. And I should hear a little feedback in a moment. Good, I see the picture. And good. All right, so that's good. So hey all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. And we're just getting set up for our show just about 10 minutes from now. So hang in there. We have iGuide camera system versus Matterport with iGuide co-founder Kevin Klages. So that's coming up at the top of the hour. We're just about 8 minutes away from getting started. So thanks for your patience. I did want to just give you just kind of a little heads up on some things going on in the forum. There's a very interesting discussion going on now about potential for scanning a 90,000 square foot space. And the member of the forum, SBI 110, he's asked the question of, how long would it take to do that 90,000 square feet with Matterport, and how should he charge for that, and what kind of technical challenges that he might have. Now, coincidentally, obviously we have the iGuide system. Talking to the co-founder, I'll make sure that that's one of the questions that we ask, is to say, hey, if you had an opportunity to use Matterport versus iGuide, what might be the differences in terms of how long it would take, any technical issues, and maybe a little bit about pricing of at least what it costs the photographer. So anyway, that was just a nice coincidence that we have Kevin coming up with iGuide at the top of the hour, just about 7 minutes from now. And so I think he's been listening in here. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. So
good to see you too.
We'll get started shortly.
Okay.
Then we also have, anyway, that's at least one of the, I think, 20 or so questions I wrote down for you. So you have at least a sneak peek at one of the questions coming up. Then we have, I think something I'm particularly excited about on Monday on WGAN TV live at 5. We're going to have Liam on our program, and Liam is in Nova Scotia. He just bought a Matterport camera, but the camera hasn't arrived yet. So, I just want to catch him in that moment. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's just before Santa Claus or just after Santa Claus, but I want to ask him the questions about, how did Matterport show up on his radar? When did he first learn about it? Talk a little bit about the research that he did. What was it that finally made him kind of pull the trigger? I guess that would be a pun for a camera person. What? Thank you, Kevin. You're probably the only one laughing at what I have to say. So, why did he pull the trigger, decide to buy Matterport? And now that he's waiting, waiting for the camera to arrive. So I guess maybe it's kind of like Santa Claus via Amazon. So the camera hasn't actually showed up. And what kinds of things is he thinking about? What's he working on? What other services does he offer? What kind of business he's in? Why did Matterport kind of fit into his decision to buy Matterport? I don't know anything about Liam other than he bought the camera, and I know that because he just recently joined the We Get Around Network forum, and based on a question that he asked in the forum, I went ahead and just sent him a note and say, hey, do has your camera arrived? And he said no, and I said, great, can we book you on Monday's show? Because I just think it would just I just want to kind of understand that customer journey. And this is kind of like one of those data points that we don't really have. Most of us in the forum are either thinking about buying a Matterport camera or some other system, perhaps like the iGuide camera system, or already have the camera. So I'm really, really curious to understand, okay, what was the journey like? And he's in the midst of waiting for the camera to arrive, maybe even, what gear and accessories he's bought, what gear and accessories he's thinking about buying. Has he, where is this, what's the status on his website? Does he have any, what are all the thoughts that are going through his mind? What things is he excited about? And then maybe what things might even be keeping him up at night now that he's invested in a camera system, platform, etc. So anyway, that's on WGAN TV live at 5 this coming Monday. Let's see, 16 would be 17, 18, 19, 20. That's Monday, November 20th, 2017. And Greenwich Mean Time -5 hours, -5. There are some other interesting discussions going on. A member of the community, Fox WRTH13, is asking about virtual staging for Matterport. He's read many of the threads about virtual staging. Hey, Kevin, I'm hearing a buzz through there. Is that you or me? Thank you. Yep. So he's asking questions about virtual staging. So if you kind of went to a tag in the forum and you searched for virtual staging, you'd see there's many discussions that we've had over the years about virtual staging. And he's read a lot of those threads, but he's asking the discussion. So what's new since the last round of discussion? So I think that's pretty interesting topic. Particularly as maybe some of us are starting to experience more and more competition in our market, and we're looking for how do we differentiate ourselves to have a competitive advantage, so that we're not fighting on price decline in our market. We really, so instead of trying to compete on price, is how can we differentiate ourselves to have a competitive advantage in order to command the pricing that we're seeking, but also really to make our competition irrelevant. Virtual staging happens to be one of those examples, particularly if you're shooting a lot of spaces that are empty, or even if you're shooting a home and this has come up in the forum. It is like it's a train wreck. I know we even had a discussion about should you even shoot a place that's not even the real estate agent and the homeowner not taking 2 seconds to stage the space, and maybe virtual staging, maybe that's a kind of an outlier. Shouldn't even worry about that. Anyway, we're just getting ready to get started. We're about 2 minutes away from our program today. Super excited about that. I think maybe one last thing or two is there's yet another discussion on Matterport meets VRBO, Airbnb, HomeAway, or maybe the lack thereof. We have a member of the community who is re-asked this question. I think this question is come up literally since we started the forum in August of 2014. Is Matterport doing anything in terms of VRBO, Airbnb, HomeAway? Because he's getting lots of requests to shoot Matterport for vacation rentals, but there really isn't a nice, easy, fast, seamless and a way to showcase a Matterport space in these platforms. So he's eager to hear from anyone that might help direct him to the right person at Matterport, because he just wants to be on the phone saying what's going on. It's been years that, in his case, that he's had a Matterport camera, and it just seems like this should be a high priority. So I think that's probably a pain point for many of us. If you have some thoughts on VRBO, Airbnb, HomeAway meets Matterport, I hope you will kind of chime in there. So just about maybe 15 seconds away from visiting with our guest today. So Kevin, if you're ready, I'll do a little countdown. I'll do an introduction and we'll get started. Is that cool?
That's fine, sure.
That's cool. And the sound sounds great.
Okay, good.
Okay, so bear with me. I'm looking for one thing. Resize my screen. Okay. And let's see. Just take me one more second here. Okay, I hear some thumping.
Yeah, sorry, I was just moving my microphone.
Okay, you good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. In fact, even if you lean in a little bit, might be a little bit, yep, not so much. Yeah, it's good. Your lighting, you got some bright light there? Yeah, right there is good. Right there, like in between. Perfect. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so I'll do a little countdown and we'll get started. 5, 4, 3. Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, November 16th, 2017, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Super excited. Our guest today, iGuide camera system versus Matterport. We're visiting with iGuide co-founder Kevin J. Klages. And Kevin, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Dan.
Yeah, I think we met at Inman Connect 2016 San Francisco. iGuide was on my radar at the time, so I was actually so glad to see you, actually, to get a demonstration in person. Had an opportunity to visit with you and your co-founder Alex about your system, and then I think we then visited at maybe Inman Connect 2017 in New York City. And then not too long after that, I saw you in Tokyo, and Alex in Tokyo at the 2017 Google Street View Summit.
Yep, absolutely.
So always fun visiting with you. So happy to have you on the program today. And I know that this question comes up so often. I think about maybe the We Get Around Network Forum. We have so many guests, it's like 10,000 visitors plus a month that come to us. And I think their question is, I'm researching Matterport and I want to make a decision about buying Matterport, but what else is out there? What else is competing with Matterport? And is Matterport the right solution for me, or is yet some other solution right for me? And so I think this is kind of a really great opportunity for you to tell your iGuide story. And I'll just kind of tee it up and really say, let's assume that the We Get Around Network Forum members that are most interested or watching are one of two things. They are either a professional, busy photographer that's evaluating Matterport and wants to know about how does that compare to iGuide camera system, or they're a Matterport photographer and they want to know a little bit about their competition. So I imagine you probably want to focus on those that are like on the edge of their seat. They're willing to consider another solution, or maybe they're right at the edge of thinking about going with the iGuide camera system. Yep. So why don't you tell the iGuide camera system story?
Well, we began much around the same time as Matterport. We saw the Matterport system go to market and decided to continue to build our Canadian presence and see how things went. They clearly the United States is a large and significant market, and we were curious on how things would go. In terms of where our focus lies and who we are appealing to with our camera system, it very much is the professional photographer market. We look to be a solution that will either complement somebody's photography services or help a professional photographer who's looking to get into the real estate space as a tool that they can use to differentiate themselves and build a very unique business.
Okay, so why do I choose iGuide versus Matterport?
Well, I think if you're looking to build a business wherein this becomes, if not your primary source of income, but a significant portion of that, iGuide is a great, better alternative. And that really comes down to our speed of production. And this is something that we've seen quite repeatedly, is a number of our pros are able to go out and shoot 5, 6, 7, 8 properties per day with an iGuide camera system. And that includes collecting their photography as well as collecting their iGuide data. So
forgive me, but I think I may be making an assumption here that everyone knows Matterport and everyone knows what the iGuide deliverables are. So maybe let's just assume people know what Matterport is.
Yep.
What is it that you get? What's the deliverable for the photographer to the client?
It is, well, ultimately it's the iGuide report. And inside that iGuide report includes links to their tour, links to their floor plans, links to their photos. We also provide a downloadable iGuide file so that if a client wants to host it on their own servers, or perhaps an agent wants to give it to their seller as a gift once that home closes, so they've got a reference tool for future activities, they get that. We also give room measurements, floor area calculations, and floor plans with every iGuide tour.
Okay, so that's a mouthful. That's a lot of deliverables. Let's see if we can break it down one by one. The first thing that you mentioned that you get in that report is the tour. Can you describe, down here in the recording, we will go ahead and embed in the We Get Around Network forum an example of an iGuide so that that members have an opportunity to compare it. But in your words, what is your an iGuide tour look like?
The iGuide tour itself is a side-by-side presentation of spatial information and visual information. So you've got complete 360-degree views of the space on the right-hand side of the screen, and that's integrated with a floor plan on the left-hand side of the screen. So at any point in time, while a visitor is experiencing or visiting a space, they know where they are at every given point in time and where that particular location is relative to the entire space or the rest of the property.
Now, I think when I look at an iGuide, I think it's very much Matterport-like, meaning I have a way to walk through the space, going forward, left, right, looking up, down. So whether that's a Matterport-like walkthrough or a Google Street View-like walkthrough, I think of it as being it's similar but different. And then I think part of what you're describing, which is certainly a little bit different than Matterport, is there's a reference of a floor plan. And on that floor plan, essentially, you can be clicking on the floor plan in order to navigate through the home to say, oh, here's the living room. I want to click on the living room. Here's the bedroom. I want to click on the bedroom. And then similarly, you have a slideshow option too. Could you embellish a little bit more about that floor plan that has interactivity as well as your what I would call a highlights reel?
Well, and that really focuses on the fundamentals of what our system was intended to be, and that is a documentation tool. We started out by offering visitors the ability to go and let's call it teleport, for lack of a better term, to the space they want to go. And this is designed for highly repetitive or multiple users that perhaps they want to come into a home and they want to jump to the master ensuite right away. They can do that and then continue to move to the different spaces they need to understand and explore at that time. So that is where our layout and our configuration was designed to provide that understanding of space, more so than the walkthrough experience or the tour, if you will. It was more about providing the information that they wanted when they wanted it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think about the photography as and this perhaps is a little bit different since I've last visited with you now that Matterport's come out with its second generation camera. Um, but it seems like as a professional photographer, certainly with Matterport, I don't have the opportunity to control ISO, shutter speed, f-stop, color correction, saturation. Can you speak to that from a professional photographer standpoint and what they have control over?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the operators and the iGuide pros within our network do appreciate that our platform is built on a DSLR, that they feel more like photographers than technicians. They do have the ability to control a number of the settings, white balances, saturations, all these things. So they do have a level of creative input into the output. It is not push a button and run away. It's really, they are engaged in the process and running their own quality controls, if you will, throughout the collection of the information.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're looking at there is your iGuide camera system. Do you want to just kind of take us through it a little bit?
Absolutely. Well product placed. So we are built off of a Canon DSLR body. We've got our battery packs and our computer and our lasering system. And all these things are, various components are brought in-house, calibrated so that it really has become a visual metrological tool. So something that captures visuals as well as the spatial information. And again, this can be controlled by any tablet or cell phone device through a remote Wi-Fi connection.
Mm-hmm. So if you're a professional photographer and you're evaluating Matterport or iGuide, this I would probably say score one for iGuide. As a pro, you have complete control over your digital assets in terms of ISO, f-stop, shutter speed, HDR.
Yeah, we do exposure fusion. So you've got your multiple exposures to improve the experience. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so we're starting to go through the deliverables, and the first I think we've covered is related to the tour, and I want to say that you deliver this property report.
Yes.
I may not have the name of it correct. Called a
The analytics or the iGuide report.
So there's two. So let's take us through both of those.
Yes. So the iGuide report is what is sent to our pros as well as anyone else they name, whether it be the agent or a member of their team, that includes that information we spoke about before. So a lot of times we found that our pros, to send them back all the iGuide information, it might sit in their inbox while they're out the next day doing their full shoot. So now what we can do is we send the report to our operator network, but then we also send the report to their clients so that their clients have the ability to go in as soon as it arrives and start loading up their listings and their social media and all of their auxiliary marketing pieces.
So the report includes, so the first thing I've heard is it includes links. So that's the equivalent of here's the link, perhaps branded and unbranded, that you need in order to start placing an MLS.
Yep.
And maybe different versions in terms of how I want that outputted.
Yep.
Yep. And does that report, is that what's delivering? You have an embed tool.
Yeah.
Is that part? So this is probably a little sidebar conversation. Do you want to talk about the embedding tool now, or keep going on your?
Well, no, the embed is really what we believe the way the industry is going in terms of online content. We're seeing the search sites. We're seeing a lot of our high producing, high volume agents and brokerages who don't want to have a multimedia link or a link on their site redirecting you off page. And as you know from Google, same thing. Same rules apply to real estate that apply to any general business. I don't want you leaving the door without buying the product. So what everybody's trying to do is bake the content directly into their own page, so that everything that buyer needs to know, that entire experience, is all nicely wrapped up and provided on that listing page. So the embedded content is becoming more and more important and more popular.
Mm-hmm. And as I recall, this embedding tool gives the user of that tool the flexibility to say, what size do I want it to be? What do I want to add text to it?
Yeah.
Anything else that's on that embed tool?
Well, it also allows them to customize the experience for the user. So within the iGuide framework, a lot of our operators also do video. And we have photography. We also have a nearby map allowing users to see all the nearby locations and the property details. Some of that information is redundant to what otherwise would be found on the page. A lot of websites have neighborhood information. There's already a home for the photo gallery, and there may or may not be a home for the video. So we give our users the ability to customize that iGuide window to say, I don't need to provide that information. We've got it somewhere else. So I'm not going to include those tabs. Or let's say you want to start on the video because, that's the emotional piece. And we often know that the video is what's driving the emotion. I want to start on that, let it run for 15 seconds, and then open the iGuide. So
great. I think maybe to help make the metaphor for those that are shooting Matterport and maybe mashing that up with WP3D Models WordPress plugin, which enables a photographer to deliver a single property website that includes their video, their photos, their 3D tour, floor plans, and a map, lead generation form, their client's contact info. I think the piece that I'm also hearing is a little bit different on your embed tool. Just looking for my notes to get that right. For on your embed tool, and I like this feature to say, okay, well, here's where the house is located on the map, but oh, by the way, here's where the schools are located, and here's where the mass transit is located, and here's what I don't recall if it showed me where the nearest Starbucks was, but that there were ways to incorporate things that people might be interested in, so that you could visually see that on the map in addition to where the house is located.
Yes. Yep, that is all there. And again, you have the ability of turning that off if you've already got a service or that built into listing information that you're already providing. So we want to make sure at a bare minimum it's there. If you've got a better source for it, then turn ours off. But at least it's there being provided for that user.
Okay, so if you happen to be using Matterport or you're not using WP3D models, here's the embed code for Matterport that is either branded or unbranded, but you don't have any control over it beyond that. And I think what I'm hearing from Kevin is that there's a specific tool that enables you to add things, turn things on, off, based on the particular client.
Yes.
Analytics, that was another one of the deliverables. Can you talk a little bit about your iGuide analytics?
Absolutely. So that is something that agents can subscribe to, and also subscribe their sellers to, which is a report that's delivered by email every Monday morning that gives them the activity on that listing for the last week, the last 8 weeks, and all time. So essentially, it's giving you agents the ability to provide that homeowner with, hey, look, this is what's happening with your listing. This is This is how many people looked at it. This is how many people came back. This is how long they stayed to look at the property. And that's really big things that sellers want to know is what's happening. What are you doing? Are we getting people to look at it? Perhaps you peaked 3 weeks ago and now you're getting fewer and fewer people. Well, that's something that you can talk about. Or perhaps people are coming and they're spending 5 minutes looking at the place, but yet no offers. Well, clearly buyers are engaged with the home. There's another issue. So it becomes a conversation point for the agents to discuss with their clients. Maybe we have a pricing issue. Maybe there's a particular room in the home that is turning people off. Information is power in this case.
Mm-hmm. Is this tied into pay-per-click in terms of perhaps evaluating campaigns? I seem to recall on iGuide Analytics that you report back which websites that people are discovering the content.
Yes, where they are originating. So if I'm an agent wanting to evaluate, is my traffic coming from Twitter? Is it coming from Facebook? Is it coming from sending direct links out to clients to visit? Is it coming from Realtor.com? Is it coming from Zillow? What it allows them to do is take a look at where are my eyeballs coming from, and use that as an evaluation method for the agent to determine where's my best effort spent, where am I deficient, what can I do?
Yeah, I would just perhaps contrast that with Matterport today. I know how many people have looked at my space. I know how many impressions that I have of my space, and I have to manually retrieve that information. So it's quite amazing all the information that not only that you provide, but that you automate the process of delivering it to the client. I think as a Matterport service provider, I have never provided analytics to our clients because I knew that as soon as I did that I would be in the manual business of copying and pasting and sending data, and yet you automate that, and iGuide automates that, and I think I can. Can I specify a daily or weekly report?
Weekly, every Monday morning.
Every Monday morning. Here's the analytics, and as a photographer, I can have an add either members of my team or my client to get those reports automatically. So I'm not in the business of looking up the analytics, copying, pasting, and then delivering it.
Yeah, and again, it's a value add for you. We know that the agents appreciate it. We know that the sellers appreciate it. So it's in our best interest to help you satisfy their needs. So that's why we provide it for you.
Mm-hmm. There's I think one of the deliverables you have is a brochure creator.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about what is the deliverable and how is that created?
Well, in our very early days, we did generate a feature sheet creator, which wrote a basic 2 and 4 page program with a number of customizations that will allow you to create 64 unique feature sheet layouts. And what this does is when you click on that feature sheet creator or that brochure creator button in the iGuide report, it directly ingests your iGuide photos as well as the agent branding to allow them to simply click the layout they want, the photos they want, where they want to put them. And then in a matter of 20 seconds, they can create a custom 2 or 4 page feature sheet.
And are the iGuide photographers charging? Is that an optional extra?
No.
Is that part of their package typically?
Oftentimes what they might do to bundle in some additional revenue opportunities is they will offer printed feature sheets. So we will create them for you. We will print them and have them delivered. So it's not necessarily the creation of the feature sheet. It's making a one-stop shop for them to, hey, I'll create it, I'll get it to the printer, and I'll get it back to you in time for the open houses on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Or inversely deliver a PDF to the client.
Yeah. Yep.
So again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, November 16th, 2017. You're watching WGAN TV live at 5, and our guest today is Kevin Klages. He is the co-founder of iGuide, also known as Planetar, for the iGuide camera system, and we're talking about iGuide camera system versus Matterport. And I think this is a very interesting example, Kevin, of that where Matterport simply does not have a brochure creator tool, where you've actually built it into the deliverable for the photographer to the client. I'm hearing that that's not an upsell. But that said, I imagine if the photographer that's something the photographer can either deliver or not deliver at their choice. Yes,
Yeah.
so that means they can either include it in a bundle or not put it in their bundle.
Yep.
Um, are there other deliverables? We've heard of the tour, the brochure creator, the embed code generator, floor plans. We're up, I think,
Yep.
probably to floor plans.
Yes. So floor plans are provided with every tour as well. We have a PDF floor plan. We have a linkable floor plan that can be used. On the back end, not provided on the iGuide report, but we also have the floor plans available in a DXF or SVG format. So if they're being used for any sort of architectural drawings or renderings, we've got those base files that can be used for developing those more detailed drawings.
Mm-hmm. So that's if you're perhaps working with an architect or a CAD designer, it's in a format that logically makes sense to them.
Yes.
Real estate agent, you're probably giving them a PDF or a link, but know that you have these extra file formats that are useful for a space planner, a designer, an architect that's using CAD.
Yes, when we're asked for them, it's not something that you get for every home, but there are cases if they're going in to do an extensive renovation or upgrade, the designer or the architect will ask for the raw drawing files, and that's what we provide.
Mm-hmm. And I recall that you actually have a couple kinds of floor plan solutions that you can deliver.
Yep, we have iGuide comes with our standard floor plan, which has recently been upgraded. We've in the last month completely relaunched our floor plans. So we've got a few different color schemes that are available: warm, cool, or gray tone. We've also significantly improved the aesthetic of them, the detail, but we do have the standard that would, by all accounts, be sufficient for floor planning. But then our premium product includes a floor plan that actually has the toilets, the build outs, all these additional fixtures mapped into the space as well.
Mm-hmm. And whose logo's on that floor plan?
It depends. There aren't logos on it, but we've, I believe, they're mostly unbranded at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Just as we've expanded in the United States, there's not a lot of third-party branding, but on the branded ones, it includes the operator, not necessarily the branding, but who the operator is, who the photographer is that provided that drawing. So we will say this floor plan was created by Dan Smigrod of We Get Around Network. So what we're not doing is providing the agent branding anymore. If that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. I mean, if I'm ordering floor plans through Matterport, I get Matterport's logo and I don't exist. Literally, it's Matterport. So is the photographer in control of what the wording is on the floor plan that's delivered?
We are actually introducing a new level of control. And I'll give an example. One that came up in the forum is the province of Alberta has mandated a new measurement standard, Alberta, Canada. And our operator teams out there would like to introduce some additional copy that says we are Alberta RMS compliant. So we're already recognizing that this is a team providing that floor plan, but now giving them the ability to add in an additional subtle description that says we are Alberta RMS compliant. So yeah, for us, we're really the back end. If you at We Get Around is the one who's interfacing with the client, and it's more valuable that they know your name than ours. So that is our priority, is to make sure the operator's branding, if there's any opportunity for branding, it's going to be yours, not ours.
Yeah, I ask because if you're a professional photographer and you're making an evaluation between Matterport and the iGuide camera system, and floor plans is one of your considerations, on the Matterport floor plans, you're going to get Matterport's logo and oh, by the way, if I understand their terms of service correctly, if I take off the Matterport logo off the floor plans that I've paid for, I am in violation of their terms of service. So I just find that fascinating that I'm trying to service my client, but I have to keep saying Matterport every time we do something, or I'll be in violation. So I think what I'm hearing from you, Kevin, is the photographer is actually in control of either the text or a logo on the floor plans, and iGuide doesn't show up on this, or the Planetar doesn't show up on this.
We probably have we do have a subtle watermarking on there, but it definitely is about the photographer, and to that end, somewhat of a hindrance versus a help is, you're right, and we hear this all the time. Matterport is a household name. Everybody knows Matterport. Whereas people have said, I haven't heard of iGuide before, yet they see our product and they say, no, that's not iGuide, that's CMC Photo. You're like, yeah, it is CMC Photo. You're right.
Yeah, so I think this is like such an aha moment if you're a professional photographer and you just heard what Kevin has said. Maybe part of the reason you've heard of Matterport is because thousands of us that are shooting Matterport, their logo is front and center. But if you want a white label solution, that's iGuide, and it's all about you. It's not about iGuide. It's not about Planetar. And I just think this is such an aha moment for professional photographers to go, oh, I haven't heard of iGuide, but it's because it's the local photographer that has the branding, and that's actually what I'm seeking as a professional photographer. I want it to be about me, not about you. So thank you for sharing that. I think going into before I move on the floor plans, are you working with any third-party service providers doing anything interesting there?
We've talked with a few. We've worked with a few. There's a few companies that were able to take our floor plans in and develop 3D modeling, but not really as of yet.
Okay. I asked because the camera is capturing three-dimensional data just like Matterport, except maybe it's doing a better job. Can you speak a little bit to scanning and your LiDAR system that's sitting on top of that camera setup, the iGuide camera system?
Yes. So we are, what we're not doing is we are capturing three-dimensional data, but we're not using it all. And that is one of the significant upsides to us as well, is really we're getting enough that we need to create the visuals and to create the floor plan. So we're often discarding some of that third dimension, and that helps with file size, where perhaps the average Matterport model might be a couple gigs. We can get ours down to 30 megs. So it's not only faster and more efficient to file transfer, but it also makes us a lot faster on the user side when they're loading it up. So it really improves our load times.
Mm-hmm. Great. You're starting to talk about the Canadian standards, and this is probably a bigger issue just than one province in Canada. Can you speak a little bit about perhaps the accuracy of floor plan information? I guess where I'm going here, Kevin, is I could imagine if I tell my client their property is 5,500 square feet, maybe I have a disclaimer on it to say, whatever our disclaimer happens to be, perhaps I'm setting myself up for some liability that if if someone else came along and said, no, that property is 5,300 square feet, you've claimed that it's 200 square feet, if I did my math right, it's 200 square feet larger than, smaller than what you said. And then perhaps either the agent is liable and I'm probably dragged in as liability. Can you speak to this whole issue of what are your standards and how does that compare to Matterport? And then how does that comply maybe with some of the Canadian regulations at the moment?
Well, and I think to speak to Matterport, all of us in this space have a tremendous opportunity to help breathe more awareness to floor plans. It's certainly becoming coming back from NAR in Chicago the other week. Last year, everybody was talking about VR. Well, this year, all the conversations seem to be around floor area calculations and floor plans. It was a lot of conversations, and you're even seeing that, and you're seeing that those conversations happen because that's what the buyers are demanding. NAR's annual profile of home buyers.
National Association of Realtors.
National Association of Realtors, sorry.
Okay.
Profile of home buyers and sellers report that they publish every year. And that is Christmas morning for us when it comes out because it gives us a glimpse into the marketplace. And floor plans, when you look at the tools buyers use when they're shopping for a home, floor plans are now number 3 behind photos and behind property details. So it's becoming more and more important when you look at the automated valuation models that Realtor.com and Redfin and Zillow and all these companies are using. That floor area calculation is very, very important. So when you ask about whether it's accurate or not, when it comes to area calculations and property measurement, you don't use the word accuracy, you use the word confidence, because you could send 20 people out, 20 engineers out to measure the same home, and you will come back with 19 different measurements, and only because the 20th was too lazy to do it himself, he copied it. But they will all come back with different numbers. So what you do is you look at how confident are you in your numbers, and we can say that we are 99.6% confident in the areas and the measurements we provide, so much so that when we were talking about the iGuide report, we provide our method of measurement with the iGuide report. So if you were ever in the position of a dispute over areas or a dispute over the calculations or worst case scenario involved in a litigation or arbitration case, that method of measurement is what the arbitrator or the judge will use to decide the area number. It's not a matter of one being right and one being wrong. It's a matter of looking at where did these pieces of information come from and who's more got a stronger case for the number that they provided. And that's where we've got the confidence in our numbers, but we're also providing all of our work. It's like math class where part marks for having the right answer and part marks for showing your work. We're doing both to guarantee that we've got full marks.
I scan with Matterport. Should I have confidence in the, well, it's an interesting question. I say, should I have confidence? Matterport actually doesn't even tell us the square footage. I mean, there was a tool that calculated for us, MP2, SQ, SQ plus, et cetera. And Matterport put the kibosh on that. So we actually don't even get square footage numbers for Matterport, even though they're scanning. Do you have any reason would you care to guess about why they're not telling us what the measurements are?
Well, I wouldn't care to guess, but I think you answered it, knowing that that area information, property details, is the second most important thing buyers want. They're willing to provide floor plans, which is the rough drawing with the disclaimer. That becomes a question. Why wouldn't you provide it if it's available unless you're not confident in that number? I can't answer that question for you, Dan.
Well, I think it's an interesting question that if you are a busy professional photographer, you've come to the We Get Around Network Forum to research about making a decision to buy Matterport. You want to know what the other alternatives are. You realize that iGuide is a camera system that includes what's it called, confidence in property calculations, So much so that you're not only you're willing to show what the measurements are, but your methodology to calculate the measurements. And then I want to say that you're now compliant with some standards that are making evaluation to say if you're going to publish a square foot number, it's got to come from the following sources, including iGuide as being one of them.
Yes, and that's why we've had so much success here in Canada and are working so closely with the National Association, and why we're embedded, and now our floor plans are featured on listing pages, is because there is a confidence in the information that we're providing as being reliable and sound. So yes.
Yeah, frankly, I don't even know what members of the We Get Around Network Forum are doing in terms of square footage calculations. We Get Around Atlanta is lucky enough that we have a member of our team is a 13+ year architect, and simply brings the data into his program and creates his area maps, and voila, we have our calculations for square foot for billing. But it's really a conundrum. If you're building a business based on charging by square foot or charging by tiers of square footage, how do you even tell your client, what it is? So I guess the short answer here on Kevin is you're providing data that would enable us to bill a client if we're charging based on square footage, and that your data is compliant with at least enough organizations that are actually saying, if you're quoting square footage and it's coming from iGuide, that's acceptable to us.
Yeah, and I think probably the key takeaway to your professional photographers within your network, and so many that have joined us, is you're a professional photographer. You don't want to be a floor planner, nor do you want to be someone out with a laser pointer measuring homes. But certainly that's money that your client's spending, and that's business opportunities that are out there. We're providing them with a means to do all that without becoming a floor planner or a measurement company. It's really a very significant incremental revenue increase for them.
Mm-hmm. So this is an interesting question, at least for me, on dimensional data, is that I could imagine that a real estate agent has been engaging a floor plan person to come out and measure the space and give them dimensional data that they can use in MLS. Poof, that's simply not necessary with iGuide. So is part of a professional photographer, is that part of the pitch with the iGuide system, is that we can save you that money that was going to bring out a floor plan person?
Absolutely, depending on what their business model is, and why so many of our operators are extremely successful is we do target high volume, high production teams who there's likely a listing coordinator or a marketing coordinator on the team whose responsibility it is to go out after that listing is won to measure that space. And being the team lead or the head realtor, they know that, it might only take her 2 hours to measure that home, but she's gone for 4 or 5. You look at the cost associated with that. We walk in there, and there's been a few cases where we've created redundancies on those large teams because now the listing coordinator doesn't need to go out and measure anymore. She's able to focus on other things and increase her productivity at a fraction of the cost, because they were already paying for the tour, they were paying for the photography. Now we're adding in floor plan measurement and area calculation services really at no additional cost. It became a no-brainer.
So if they were engaging an outside person, that was clearly easy to measure. We're paying $150 or whatever it is to have somebody come in and do it, or at least the soft cost to say, oh my gosh, we're tying somebody up for 2 to 5 hours for every listing that we're doing. I don't know. The only analogy I can think of is maybe a switchboard operator a million years ago of plugging in to make connections on, I don't know, is that like, what's the movie? I'm just trying to think of the movie that came out of England or whatever. I'm watching the scene with the switchboard operators or whatever. It's like, really? Like, okay, you're still sending somebody out for 2 to 5 hours to measure when we have this scanning data that creates this?
Yep, absolutely. And that's where when we go into a market and we appeal to these high production teams is because more than a marketing tool, we're an efficiency tool for their office.
I keep talking about square footage, but it's probably provincial. I presume you're also offering metrics.
We do feet and imperial and metric format.
Imperial and
We
metric.
can toggle between both.
Anything else on dimensional data that we should touch on?
No, I think that was probably deeper than you had even intended, and I appreciate that because that really is fundamental to our business. But yeah, that really is.
Well, I think if you're trying to make a decision about buying Matterport, you kind of like, okay, I've heard of Matterport. I haven't heard of iGuide camera system. Well, maybe I actually have to understand what it is that since you don't do your brand, it's kind of like, should we brand in order for people to know about us, or do we choose not to brand so that our clients are the stars, and we'll eventually get it to the point where a professional photographer goes, oh, I get it. It'll be my branding, and here are the reasons why this might be a better solution, for me. So I'm really trying to, help somebody make a decision. I know probably if if the posse at Matterport's tuning in, and I'm sure they are. Hi folks at Matterport, and I thought sometimes I think they probably think I'm a turncoat or something. I happen to be a huge fan of Matterport, but I think when we got Matterport, we were looking at something forward thinking to say, okay, this is the latest and greatest technology. So there's kind of two things of us all first quintile want to have the latest thing is, if we're a Matterport photographer, we want to know is there something better? And if we're thinking about buying Matterport, we want to know what the other options are. And if Matterport is the right solution, then frankly, all the We Get Around network is doing is help someone make a confident decision to buy Matterport faster because they had a perhaps an unbiased view to compare and contrast other systems. So that's why we're excited, Kevin, to have you on the program, because it truly may help someone make a decision faster to buy Matterport, because then they realize that, oh, it's a DSLR camera and the f-stops and the shutter speed. No, that's not me. I'm not a professional photographer. Okay, Matterport, right solution for me, because I can't deal with all this f-stop, shutter speed, ISO, color saturation, have no idea what Photoshop is, or any other software tool. So,
well, and I think, Dan, the one thing that why I think we enjoy, never mind personally just enjoying chatting with you, why we enjoy the We Get Around network is we're not trying to convert any of your people from Matterport to us. I think collectively we have a responsibility. You've got a small portion of the market. We've got a small portion of the market, but there is an enormous portion of the market that's not using either of our services. And I think between both technologies, we've got a responsibility to expand the pie versus fight over the very small crust that we've got now. And I think that comes through education on floor plans and measurements and areas. And why I like to get on the soapbox and talk with you and the network about that is we've got an opportunity to really change the industry collectively. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah, I would say with even though Matterport, I think I've lost track, maybe has raised $80 million or something. According to Matterport co-founder Matt Bell, in a recent post that we've posted in the forum, that Matterport has 4% is estimated that they have 4% of all the MLS listings in the United States that have a Matterport Spaces 3D tour. So if I'm quoting that correctly, then you might say, well, what about the other 96%? They're not using Matterport, or not using Matterport or iGuide, or whatever else it might be. It seems like there's a tremendous opportunity to continue to grow the market rather than try maybe to beat each other up. But nevertheless, I do know I have some fans at Matterport that are probably tuned in, and
Yeah.
I just want to say to my friends at Matterport, hey, I'm helping you sell Matterport cameras faster because people are able now to compare the two systems and say, I get it. I'm not a professional photographer. Matterport makes more sense for me. Or maybe I am a professional photographer, but still, based on what I've heard, maybe I'm not as busy and prolific that kind of fits the iGuide model. So I just want to say to my friends at Matterport, I'm helping you sell Matterport cameras faster, rather than saying, oh, the only thing on the planet that exists is Matterport. So anyway, I'm done with my little soapbox there. Thank you, Kevin.
But in fairness, professional photographers, we do want you. So come on over.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So let's talk a little bit about, I don't know if the word is syndication or content delivery network, or I don't even know if those are the right terms, but I think you have some exciting things to share on that topic.
Yes, it's certainly something that I hope we can put in bug in the ear of the search destinations in the United States. So we've been working over the past couple of years with the Canadian Real Estate Association on embedded content. So what we've seen and how we talked about, we work with a lot of high production, high volume listing teams in Canada. And what has happened over the past 12 months is they have evolved to embed iGuide content within their own websites. What that has done has really stolen eyeballs from the search destination. So in order to stay relevant and stay positive, Realtor.ca in Canada is now offering up a completely contained iGuide experience within their own website. It is not an off-page click. It is not a multimedia link. The iGuide is now given prime real estate, top left-hand corner of the landing page for every listing that an iGuide has been created for, and they are serving that up within their own domain. And that, working with boards and associations worldwide, we really believe this has put Canada to the top of the heap in terms of search destination content. And then to 1-2 punch that, last week, they are now reaching into our iGuide system and saying, oh, there's a floor plan here as well. Well, we're going to actually give that floor plan recognition in real estate on Realtor.ca, that anytime there's an iGuide created, we know there's a floor plan. So here's your individual floor plan button. So users can then go in, grab, and now engage with that floor plan, recognizing that that is such valued content for the home shopper. They've now given it space on their page, and that pushes them even further ahead. And we would love to see both things happen in the United States and in Australia and Europe and all over. It is provide a vehicle for this content to get out there.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Kevin, congratulations on Realtor.ca. That probably says, if you're a professional photographer in Canada, that just changed the game. If you're probably looking at Matterport and iGuide camera systems, iGuide camera system is if you want to be on the front page. Mike, good to see you, and enjoy your weekend too, since I'll be gone tomorrow. Okay, thank you. It's Mike, does magic for We Get Around Network, and it's our
magic man,
our rocket star. So forgive me. So Kevin, again, congratulations on Realtor.ca. With the full-blown integration with the iGuide system, including the 3D tour and the floor plans. Because I would imagine if I was a real estate agent or broker in Canada and I was talking to an iGuide Pro versus a Matterport Pro, there's simply no decision. You've now made Matterport irrelevant in Canada.
We have tried to increase our position and our relevance, not decrease anyone else's, but this does do a lot. What it does is recognize our iGuide pros. It rewards all of the iGuide agents and consumers of our product, because now they're essentially stealing eyeballs from other listings because of the engagement and the traffic that they're getting. I will definitely say it's a great time to be an iGuide client in Canada, no doubt, and to be an iGuide Pro in Canada.
Cool. I think about, I think related to a lot of the things we were talking about, I just wanted to ask about intellectual property. It's an issue for us as photographers with Matterport in terms of, well, we sort of kind of, I guess the analogy, let me give the longer version to kind of tee this up for you. As best as I understand it, because if you ask Matterport, they'd probably say, well, you own it. But it's kind of like I went into an art gallery and the art gallery handed me some canvas, and then I created a painting, and then they said, oh, that's beautiful. You own the copyright in your work, but the only place you can display that picture is in our gallery. And we're going to put our logo on it. So can you speak to intellectual property related to iGuide, please?
Well, I think what you were getting at is ownership of the raw files. We, when an iGuide is complete and on the iGuide report, one of those assets there is a downloadable version of the iGuide. We provide that to our iGuide pros, who can provide it to their agents, who can provide it to their sellers, or whoever they want to have access to that iGuide. We also work in a lot of other industries where for privacy protection, they want that iGuide to reside on their servers for their eyes only, and we provide that ability as well. So ultimately, that iGuide becomes yours. Do with it what you will, and you're fine to use it or host it or do whatever you want. In terms of photography, yes, the intellectual property belongs to the photographer and everything else. So at the end of the day, we see the homeowner as being the ultimate owner of the home and the iGuide, and we see the agent as being the sponsor of the iGuide, and the photographer having the ownership of the data. So it becomes a synergy. We're just the ones there processing it.
Thank you. So kind of moving on here for a moment, you keep talking about photographers. Are real estate agents prospects for your camera system?
If the short answer is no. We are building a network of professional photographers. If there happens to be a professional photographer that has a relationship with a particular brokerage, we're glad to sell that to the professional photographer. But no, our model is that we want to create opportunity. We want to create business for people throughout, let's say, North America right now, who can not only service a real estate industry, but service a number of the other industries and verticals that we're starting to work in.
Mm-hmm. So I know we get around. We've been on a number of presentations where I can think of one where I probably had a 5-hour meeting with like 5 people that just couldn't. They just had so many questions, and they got to the end of the meeting and said, great, we'll buy a camera. So, I imagine there's many of us in the We Get Around Network Forum who have made a presentation and gotten the client really excited, and then the client is, we'll buy the camera.
Yeah.
It's happened to me so many times. It's like, it's crazy. So I think what I'm hearing, where I feel like I'm competing with Matterport, who's chasing after our same clients, I think what I'm hearing from you is, no, we only really sell the camera to professional photographers. We want to have busy professional photographers, not sell to real estate agents that might use the camera a few times and say, well, we got to do is cover the cost of our camera system and we're happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is definitely not our business model. We are focused on creating opportunities not only within the real estate space, but other spaces where we can work with a close-knit network of professionals who collaborate and share with one another, share best cases, to go out and collectively build the market. So again, that's where you probably hear more about our operator network than us, is because we really are the back end support to their businesses.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of begs the question. So I met you at Inman Connect in San Francisco. I saw you again at Inman Connect San Francisco, two conferences for real estate agents, brokers, brokerages meet high tech. You were just in Chicago for the National Association of Realtors. If you don't sell the camera system, the iGuide camera system to real estate agents, what are you doing at these real estate conferences?
Generating leads. So we at NAR,
Generating leads for iGuide or
for iGuides, yes.
for
So
iGuide pros?
yeah. So what we did was, I believe, we don't have scanners. We're not into just cards dropped in. We had 450 conversations with agents at the show. We curated all those, assembled them based on where our operator network is, gave everyone a lovely thank you email template to send out, and ask them to follow up, thank those agents for stopping by the booth. By the way, here's our local pricing, our local ordering information, and our local contact information. Do you have any more questions?
And that's all to the pro. You're not in the business of selling cameras to the real estate agent.
No.
You don't send out iGuide camera system operators. You're not booking operators. You are simply generating the leads for people who've bought a camera system, an iGuide camera system from you.
Yep. And we had 6 local operators from Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, who all came to join us in the booth with an agreement of, yes, there's going to be leads within your market, but there's going to be leads from California. There's going to be people stopping by from Florida. We talk to everyone. Just because they're not one of yours, you don't turn around and walk away. No, if you're in our booth, you help on behalf of the entire network. You collect their information. You thank them for stopping by, and we pass that on to the operator in that market. So yes.
Off the top of your head, was there any where you had many requests in a market where you don't have an operator?
Yes, there's a number. Fortunately, this year, Dan, when we've been down there previously, it was we maybe had 2 or 3 operators. Now we're up to, I believe, 85. So fewer and fewer markets that are unserviced, but there are a bunch. I mean, we do have to send a lot of emails out to agents following that show to say we don't have anyone there right now, but thank you very much for your interest, and as soon as we do, we will let you know.
So do you, off the top of your head, do you know which markets you're presently you wish you had an operator because you have so many leads for them?
There was a fair bit in northern Illinois. I want to say Bloomington or something like that. Just being the Chicago area, there was a lot of requests from that area. Beyond that, I'd have to. I'm going by just people I talk to, but I'd have to go back through the database and see what else is unfulfilled.
Tell you what, if you want to send me a list, we're happy to post that in the We Get Around Network forum. We'll be posting this video. If there's a list to say these are the markets where we have many leads, but we don't have a pro. If you're in the market, if you're a professional photographer, if you're a busy professional, successful photographer, and you want to have a conversation, we may already have a business for you out of the gate.
And we do a lot of that. It's a great problem to have, is walk in there and say, we've got a business. Would you like to run it?
Yeah. So if you decide, happy to take that list and post it in the forum, or if you want to post it, that's certainly fine too. Talk a little bit about how long does it take? If I'm shooting Matterport, I'm gonna tell my client to say figure an hour for every 1,000 square feet. I would say some pros in the community would probably say, well, Dan, you overscan. We do it in a half hour. We do it in 45 minutes for every 1,000 square feet. Do you have a rule of thumb about how long it takes you to do at the level that you're happy with?
We say to all our operators that if you're not down to 30 minutes for 3,000 square feet within your first 20 houses, you better call us up for some retraining, because you're not. You can be a lot more efficient. And on your before you went live, we were talking about somebody in your network is wanting to find out about a 90,000 square foot space. When we talk about larger spaces, we've got a video on our iGuide channel where one of our operators scanned 174,000 square feet in 3.5 hours.
I have to write this down. 174,000?
Yes.
Square feet in
3.5 hours.
Okay. Could you say that again, please?
100 and I'm going by memory, but I think it's 174,000 square feet in 3.5 hours. I know it was a 3.5 hours, and it's 170 something.
Let's call it 174,000.
I
have my calculator here, and I'm going to divide by 1,000 because I don't have any brain power for this. But that would say for me, if I was scanning that space with Matterport, it would take me 174 hours based on the rate of speed that I scan. I'm going to divide that by, let's say, 8 because I can't scan more than that, which would take me almost 22 days to scan. Never mind that Matterport says we'll support up to 200 scans and up to 10,000 square feet. Now, they'll break the rules themselves and say, yeah, you can get about, 40 or 60,000, square feet. Here's the technique. When you get to 200 scans, duplicate the model on your iPad, then add another 50 scans, and then duplicate the model again and add 50 scans because you may crap out, and just in case you want to be able to revert back to, whatever model. So, I bring this up because the member in the forum that posted just in the We Get Around Network forum posted that he had the potential of a 90,000 square foot car dealership, and so. In his mind, he was trying to calculate to say, okay, 90,000, square feet, and let's just assume that he could do 1,000, square feet an hour. If I'm doing that right, that's like 90 hours. If I did that right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe if he was doing that an 8-hour day, that would be a little over 11 days.
Yeah.
Scan it, and then he's thinking about pricing. Well, how do I price this? Because, if I'm charging, X per square foot for a 10,000 square foot house, maybe I need to be doing it for half of it. And all I could be thinking is, oh my God, it is so much harder with Matterport to scan a super large space because of these issues about how many scans and how much square foot, about whether the model will process it all and whether it actually will, crash in WebGL. So anyway, I just wanted to keep asking these questions because I wanted to go through that. If I did the math on that 90,000, and you mentioned that that it should take how many, so 30 minutes for 3,000 square feet. So 90,000 square feet divided by 3,000 is 30 times, I'm going to say 30 is actually equal to, I probably lost my math here. I wanted to say that would be 15 hours.
Yeah, and if I were to have one of our pros call me up and ask me how long would it take to shoot a 90,000 square foot dealership, I would probably be more inclined to say give yourself 7-8 hours, just because there's a lot of smaller spaces, a lot of rooms.
But I think the point is you could do it in one day. You're not talking about 10 or 11 days.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. You're not talking about the camera crapping out or something. So I just sometimes, I feel like sometimes in Kevin, maybe you'll send me a bill for therapy or something. But I sometimes feel, in the We Get Around Network forum that I see some questions like, I have an opportunity to scan 90,000 square feet. And I have a Matterport camera. And then the assumption is, well, of course, I have a Matterport camera. That's the tool I'm going to use. I need to repair the roof. I own a screwdriver. I'm going to use that screwdriver to go up on the roof and nail in the nails into the roof because I own a screwdriver. I don't own a jackhammer to do a power jack or whatever it is to put all those nails in. So sometimes I think that there are so many other tools than Matterport. Perhaps when you're offered an opportunity to quote on 90,000, maybe the question is not how do I do that with Matterport and how do I charge, but maybe what is the right tool for doing that project for that client? What problem are we trying to solve for the client? What's the right tool? And maybe I need to actually go buy the right tool. Instead of using my screwdriver to hammer in those nails, I'm going to go buy the right tool. Maybe I'll go hire the right professional who actually knows how to use that jackhammer to get on my roof and do that. So anyway, so if one of your iGuide pros had an opportunity to scan 90,000 square foot car dealership, what would their thinking be? This is like, oh, it's no problem. I'll do a quick calculation. It's going to take me 8 hours, and boom, I'm done.
Yeah, I'd have to again, these come in all the time, but I know one of our pros a couple of weeks ago shot a shopping mall. And I want to say we're not talking King of Prussia, but it was 150,000 plus, and he did that within a day as well. And fantastic space. We just had a arena come in where we've got one of our pros who's now doing a lot of arena spaces. A lot of our pros are now moving very aggressively into the large commercial industrial spaces because it is so profitable. The faster you get, or the larger the space, certainly the more money they make. But then also with our Google Business View partnership, they're able to double down and offer increased value through the relationship with Google, making it a lot easier to sell. So we got to keep everybody.
Hold on, you've kind of buried the lead. I was in Tokyo with you, 2017 Google Street View Summit. You're up on stage, and you announced
that we had developed a relationship with Google where, in one-click step, our pros would be able to take completed iGuide models and move them into Google Street View. And I believe that was May. That
was May. I don't want to be a savant on this, but I want to say May 10th and 11th, 2017, in Tokyo, and you were up on stage making a presentation at the by invitation only 2017 Google Street View Summit, and I was like, oh wow, that's so exciting. So I should ask you, it's now November 16th, 2017. Where are you on making it easy, fast, and simple for an iGuide Pro to shoot and publish to Google Street View?
Well, come July 1st, a month and a half or so later, we were publishing our first Street View models, and that has progressively grown as awareness for it has gotten out there. Our guys have done more and more. We've got some of our teams that are signing contracts with entire business improvement areas, chambers of commerce. It's become a very significant portion of our pros business, and now going into the slower period for a lot of our northern operators, it's a great additional source of revenue. So Street View has been a fantastic addition to us. Google has been fantastic by giving us this opportunity, being a smaller company relative to the Samsungs and the Sonys out there, but we have not disappointed. Our pros are setting records with numbers of views and size of scans. So it's gone very well.
How important is Google Street View to your ecosystem?
It's new, and again, when we launched it in June, July, our guys were still in the heat of the real estate season. But as it started to taper off in September, October, everybody's looking at it now. We had some incredible growth going into the fall. We've got some even bigger growth happening right now. We've got a number of our pros who have bought additional camera systems from us to have a team strictly focused on the business. We call it the Google Business View program, while they're continuing to service a real estate business. We see it only continuing to grow as more of our pros adopt Google into their business. So it's important and it's helpful. We learned a lot. Tokyo was incredible, but as Alex and I didn't know much about it leading up to that, we learned a lot about the value of what Google's working on, and even we've been able to equate a lot of that to the real estate industry and use a lot of the lessons learned through that in our real estate business as well.
Fascinating. I think one of the interesting things one of my interesting takeaways from hearing you talk about Google Street View, Kevin, Matterport made the same announcement in Tokyo from the same stage.
How's theirs going?
It's not available. It is absolutely not available. So Matterport announced that you could publish to Google Street View, and let's see, that was May, and then it was coming in the summer, and it was all over the Matterport website. All the information about Google Street View publishing. Matterport, played a video up one stage. And then summer and there was a request for beta people. And as far as I know from We Get Around Network Forum members, registered for the beta, never heard anything from Matterport. I believe no one has actually heard from Matterport on the Matterport to Google Street View publishing, as far as I know, as of today. And then shortly thereafter, all the branding of Google Street View came off of the Matterport website. Matterport announced that the Matterport to Google Street View conversion was coming in the winter. So, frankly, my take when Matterport announced that in May, I said, I've talked to so many of the developers, at Google Street View Summit, and I didn't have any sense that the Google Street View API would be frozen enough or far enough along that Matterport could possibly make a summer. So I actually predicted, I don't remember, maybe August or September. So when Matterport, changed and said winter, I think some of the skepticism in the forum was that, winter starts kind of in December. Winter, I think, ends in March. Let me see if I can just Google, winter. Winter ends. Anything you ever wanted to know is in Google. So, the winter in our hemisphere begins on Thursday, December 21st. So maybe that's the first day that Matterport might offer it if it's winter. But it turns out that winter doesn't end until Tuesday, March 20th, 2018. So if Matterport is to meet their second deadline in terms of Matterport to Google Street View publishing to hit the date, they have until Tuesday, March 20th, 2018, without having to say, winter, we meant winter 2019. Why are you trying to hold us to to March 20th, 2018? We never said winter, this year. Anyway, forgive me. I'm just being a little bit skeptical because, I really, again, for the benefit of the people at Matterport, I don't even know how any productivity gets done at the company because we have so many, fans reading our forum, tuning into our program. But I'm a super booster of Matterport. I even said, on video, talking to a representative of Matterport in Tokyo, it was a seminal moment in the history of Matterport that when historians look back 10 years from now on Matterport, they would say that day, that announcement, that implementation would provide exponential growth to Matterport, the company, and the Matterport service providers. I just think it's that big a deal. And I think we're hearing crickets.
Yeah, it definitely.
That was me trying to imitate it. That was me trying to imitate a cricket there, Kevin. It wasn't that your sound went out. I was just trying to, leave that pause there to emphasize that, like, we as Matterport service providers are still waiting. I mean, we're so excited that we could be able to shoot once, publish twice, and for that matter, shoot once, publish multiple times with content distribution network, CDN, and with Matterport syndicating content, but we just thought that that was such a big thing. So I think, looking at you, you are super surprised for me to tell you that Matterport is not offering publishing to Google Street View as of today.
Yeah, sorry.
And I am super surprised looking at you going, really? You've already been doing this since July?
Yeah, you know what? It's worth the wait because it is an incredible additional business line for our pros. They're able to upcharge considerably on the product itself because we now get to attach the Google name. So it's definitely something I would continue to push for developing, because it's really, as a camera owner, looking for additional ways to use it and leverage it, and not only make a few more dollars per scan off of it. It's a great thing to do.
So you're not, and I'm not hearing the words beta. This is for all your iGuide service providers.
Oh yeah. We've been running it at no charge since July. We're bringing it out of our beta December 1st, primarily waiting for Google to fix a couple things, which were fixed the end of October. Again, we didn't want to charge our network for something until everything was completely stable, but the metrics on it, the way Google was performing, what it's doing for search optimization and page ranking and all that stuff for the operators, it's good to come out of beta, and it's going to be out there for the world to have. It's been out there for the world to have. We just haven't bothered to charge for it yet.
But that hasn't prevented your members from saying, "Oh, yes, we are. We're gonna charge for that."
Yep, absolutely.
So I won't ask you pricing because I want to wait and ask you about pricing. And I just made a note to, when we talk about pricing of the iGuide camera system and the processing and the hosting and et cetera, that I'll ask at that time about Google Street View. I'm not ignoring the pricing thing that you mentioned. I just want to come back to it. But I did hear you mention that one of the reasons you haven't been maybe full steam ahead perhaps on Google is that your service providers are extremely busy in high season shooting properties, and I think probably in your case that's probably 7 to, or how many properties is that a day?
It depends on the market and where it is, but we've got some teams that are averaging 5 to 8 during the peak season.
5 to 8. So and 5 to 8 is per day.
Yes.
So let me see if I can say that again, because if I'm shooting a 4,000 square foot house, that's, in my world, that's 4 hours, and if I shoot a second one that day, it's another 4 hours, is an 8-hour day. We Get Around is a little bit unique in that we won't shoot more than one client on one day for our own reasons, but I could imagine that We Get Around Network Forum members that are watching WGAN-TV live at 5 right now are going, really? How do you shoot 5 to 8 properties in one day? It's not possible.
Well, there, again, a lot of our teams, they the high production teams, we've got one that's easily achieving those numbers, and their photographers are in and out of a 3,000. Probably the average home size is closer to 2,400, but they're in and out of those homes in 45 minutes with their photos and with their iGuide, and giving themselves 15, 20 minutes between appointments to get to the next one. We're talking efficiency a lot. We're built for high efficiency. Well, they built their business for high efficiency so that they're able to shoot that many properties a day. And then a lot of them don't do their own photo editing. You know, that is something that they outsource so that if they're spending 8 hours out in the field shooting, they're not back at home spending another 4 hours photo editing.
And are they using the iGuide camera system for their still photography or shooting DSLR?
They're shooting DSLR. If it's for existing home real estate or the real estate market, they're using a second DSLR.
And so in the event that they missed the shot, they probably could use an exported photo from iGuide and feel like they didn't have to go back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We again, the marquee, we can fill in a lot of the blanks for them, but for their sake, they prefer shooting. Photographers, much like hockey players are loyal to their hockey sticks. Photographers are loyal to their DSLRs. So we don't impose ours on them. They can use their own camera.
So if you have the potential to do 5 or 8 homes a day, and if you can shoot Matterport, it's not fair for me to guess. I can't imagine doing 3 or 4 a day. I mean, hey, I'll ask that question in the We Get Around Network Forum. How many houses are you shooting a day? But I would imagine that I'd probably have to buy some more cameras and hire some more people if I was trying to keep up with the same volume, because I couldn't possibly shoot 5 to 8 properties a day unless we had multiple photographers, which probably also means not only the expense of the photographer, but the expense of the gear shooting. So we'll talk about that when we get to pricing. Virtual reality.
Yeah.
Matterport's offering virtual reality. How about the iGuide camera system?
We came out with a virtual reality product available on headsets. If you want it, we've got it. It's good, but it's not that wasn't us too. A lot of people wanted to see it because there's a lot of hype around it. So we had to create it. So we did.
Okay. So it may be early for virtual reality, but I'd still probably say, when we do presentations, it's the first thing that we lead with, because we want to get people super excited about what the roadmap is for technology, but then kind of ratchet it back to say, and here's what we can do today in terms of delivering on smartphones, tablets, laptops, and desktops. But frankly, if you have, for the right use case, then speaking with a commercial real estate broker and team earlier this week, and the ability to take the message to the potential investor in a very large project and be able to have them experience in virtual reality or whatever it might be, for the right use case, So, so you check the box for virtual reality, not something you're particularly excited about, but you got it.
Yeah, and really it is early stages, and for the use cases where we are seeing virtual reality being used today, we're a great solution. When we get to the point that homeowners are actually consuming and shopping for real estate on a headset versus a listing presentation, we will develop or put more resources against improving that solution. But right now, as you probably find, it's about that oh wow moment, and we're able to deliver on that.
Speaking of oh wow moment, I think certainly I recall when I first looked at Matterport, I had an oh wow moment with the dollhouse view, what we call the mansion view, but Matterport calls it the dollhouse view. Do you offer a dollhouse view, and what do you think of what Matterport's doing?
Dan, we don't have that oh wow moment, unfortunately. We will often say in presentations where we are not the lady in the magazines, we're the lady you come home to every night, the one that's there for you. So no, we don't have something that looks like that, but we do have all the content and the practicality involved. And what do I think? I think their dollhouse view is cool. No doubt. I like it. Are consumers going to use it? That begs another question. But we hear it time and time again. Dollhouse is cool.
Cool. So before I kind of wrap things up, talk about pricing and how to get in touch with you all, maybe some of your websites. Was there anything else that you want to cover before we talk about the pricing?
No, you know what? I always love talking with you, Dan. So, no, as always, we've run properly above our allotted time. But no, you know, if
Well,
I knew.
we don't have Wheel of Fortune about to start, so we're as long as you don't have to go to the bathroom or pressed for a meeting or something, I'm good to go. But no Wheel of Fortune that we're up against this, is our next program or something.
Perfect. You know what? No, I think we covered the gamut. Boxes I want to tick, definitely talk about our Google and our realtor.ca and put the bug in the ear to any of the search destinations that in the USA that participate in your forum. We would welcome the same opportunity in the United States that we've been given in Canada and love to help all of the many users of iGuide in the United States to present their content to clearly a buying audience that wants to see it.
Terrific. Okay, so I'm a professional photographer. I've been watching the program today, WGAN-TV live at 5, Thursday, November 16th, 2017, learning about the comparison of iGuide camera system versus Matterport. We're speaking with the iGuide co-founder, Kevin Klages. And all right, what's it cost? How much? So
camera system it holds true at $4,500. That includes complete training, which means you spend time with one of our pros who make sure that you're completely proficient not only on the hardware but the software and the back end system that we offer. We also, again, because we're setting up a network as opposed to selling cameras, we take a very hands-on approach with assisting you with business development should you want it. You might just say, give me the gear and I'm good to go and I'll call you when I need you. But if you could use a little bit more support, we provide that too. We do not charge a subscription or membership fee. It is a pay-per-play, which means you send us, you create an iGuide or collect iGuide data. We process it for a fee and we turn it back to you for that fee. Prices for up to 1,500 square feet property. It is $54 for the iGuide, $78 for the premium iGuide. And then for up to 3,000, we are, I want to say $60 and $84. And then we charge, like any floor plan company, additional pennies per additional square foot above that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think I've heard two components of cost. One is the iGuide camera system, the 4,500. I've also heard the, I don't know if I would call it processing and hosting. Is that what you would call it?
We call it our processing fee, yeah.
Processing fee, as you've outlined. Google Street View, when you come out of beta?
We are looking to charge $16.
So for $16, I can take my iGuide and publish it to Google Street View and maybe charge
$100. A lot, or $100 upcharge. A lot of our guys are easily charging. If they're charging $350 for a standard iGuide, they're $450, $500 for iGuide and Google.
Yeah. So for all my fan base here, I would say, if you're selling it for $100 upcharge, you're leaving money on the table. So we've done an entire hour plus episode on pricing for Google Street View, and I think one of the things I would point out, Kevin, is that this is really a terrific opportunity to charge monthly recurring revenue for hosting, maintenance, and whatever. But certainly, if you're gonna sell it at a one-time thing, I can't even imagine letting it go for $100. So,
can you send me a link to that previous session? I'm sure I'd love to that for operators because they'd love to hear.
Yes, actually, as a We Get Around Network premium member, you get an all access pass to the We Get Around Training Academy. All the videos, I think, we're actually up to 100 plus hours.
Wow!
And I just felt that was such an important topic, is to say, one might think about pricing Google Street View to say, if you buy the Matterport Spaces 3D tour, you get the Google Street View for free, or if you buy Google Street View, then you get the Matterport for free. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is just frightening to me. Is to say you're creating so much value for the right client. In terms of if you just kind of digressing for a moment, I should be talking about iGuide, but I think this Google Street View thing is just like such an important topic that if um, if you think about search today, where people are beginning their search on Google, or beginning their search on Google Maps in terms of discovery, and the amount of impressions and views and discovery on Google Street View. I think we're going to have to do some more research on this and publish it in the We Get Around Network Forum about the value that Google, this giant gorilla, brings to making our content viewed way more, much more. That there are many different types of pricing models. So certainly you should be getting, a lot of money. To me, this is not, would you like French fries with your hamburger? This is, would you like, oh, I know you ordered that hamburger, but I have one that's of equal value or more, and they each serve their own purpose. And so it's worth thinking about commanding top dollar for being able to shoot once and publish twice, whether that's with, at some point, Matterport, and today with the iGuide system. But certainly I would encourage, real estate is like, it's for sale. It's going to be, the client needs it for 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, but they're done. If you're talking about shooting a retail store, it's forever. And to me, you have some upfront shooting fee, and then you charge rent for them to license your asset, and that you'll maintain, publishing it to Google Street View. And if they stop publishing rent, that you unpublish it. I would imagine that publishing to Google Street View, you've enabled the unpublishing as well. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, they stop paying rent. So I can't even imagine selling them something that I could, rent, and maybe after getting my return on investment or whatever it is that I want to charge in 18 months or 2 years, that, ding, 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 I start, making found money in monthly recurring revenue. Anyway, Kevin, I will send you the link and the password to the We Get Around Network Training Academy, and that's for your viewing as a premium member. And I know that you'll encourage all your iGuide service providers to join as a basic, standard, or premium member, so that they can have access to the library as well.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, because it's 100 plus hours, and there's at least, I think, 15 hours just on pricing alone. Anyway, I'm sorry, forgive me, I've digressed. So I've asked you how much that you anticipate. Right now, any iGuide service provider can publish to Google Street View. It's considered beta, so you're not charging for them, because there's been some changes on the API, and you want to make sure your product is finalized. So I think I'm hearing December 1, you think that you'll come out of beta, and that point start charging your service provider $16. And please don't get any ideas from me about charging your service providers more, knowing that I'm going to tell them they should be charging way more.
I won't.
But
can you give me 2 minutes, Dan? Continue to chat? Okay, 1 sec.
Okay.
I have had a bit of coffee.
Yeah. So live television, what would you expect? So anyway, if you're just tuning in, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. You're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Today is Thursday, November 16th, 2017. And we're visiting with iGuide camera system. We're visiting about the kind of the comparing of the iGuide camera system and the Matterport camera platform. And we're visiting with iGuide co-founder Kevin Klages, who is taking a comfort break at the moment during our live television show. But we're going to wrap it up in a moment. We will finish up the discussion on pricing. We're so close to doing that. We'll give you some links in terms of where you can, how to connect with Kevin and his team. I think I filled a sufficient amount of time. It was a record-breaking comfort break, Kevin.
It was a long run, quick run.
It's a long run. Hope you washed your hands.
I did.
Okay, good. We would have taken another 20, 30 seconds to keep going. Anyway, we're so close to actually finishing up. I just wanted to finish up on pricing. We've talked about Google Street View. Is any charge for virtual reality VR?
It's included in our premium package, so no
premium package.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything else to buy from you?
Not at this time. We have created mugs.
Is there anything else that you're about to announce that you'd like to break the news on WGAN TV Live at 5?
No, but when we announce that we're embedded in Zillow and Realtor.com, Dan, I'd love to announce that with you.
That would be awesome. We would be delighted to have you back for that announcement. I must ask though, I know that, if you're a professional photographer, you're a busy, successful professional photographer, you've gotten to the point where you say, okay, I'm in, but I'm scratching my head wondering to say, they're charging $4,500 for the camera. Matterport charges $3,995, just shy of $4,000. And Matterport is actually offering a $300 discount. So if I do my math correctly, Kevin, today your camera is $800 more than the Matterport camera, and that's after discount. So if Matterport doesn't continue that $300 discount, then you would be $500. So why are we paying? Why charge more? What's going on there?
Well, the way that our pros look at it is peak season. If, as you said, your camera is only capable of producing 2-3 tours per day, we can do the work of 3 cameras during the peak season. So where we might be $400 or $500 more, that is 2 less cameras sitting on the shelf in November, December, January, February collecting dust, because all of our markets slow down at that time of year. We're a production performance tool. We are built for volume and speed. It's not that we're gouging, but we also include training. It's not a box that's delivered and you're on your own. We provide many hours of training and support for our operator network. So you're not just buying a piece of hardware with us, you're buying into a business system.
Terrific. Okay, I'm interested in getting in touch with you. How do I connect with the iGuide camera system, with the Planetar company? Some websites you want to share with us?
Yeah, we've got www.goiguide.com, GOIGUIDE.com. Our sales team is sales@planetar.com. And if you reach out, we will gladly respond and start a conversation with you.
And your YouTube channel?
It is youtube.com. And if you just look up iGuide, IGUIDE, you can see a lot of our great videos, including the 170 something square foot space that I spoke about. We filmed it and sped it up, as well as did a speed test of us shooting a 1,600 square foot space in under 11 minutes. So we've got a number of speed tests, a number of presentations that we do, and some other materials to help you understand more about us and what we're offering.
Terrific. So, Kevin, I'm going to ask you, in part because I'm traveling tomorrow, is perhaps you or a member of your team can post in the We Get Around Network forum, include the links, the go iGuide.com, sales at Planitar, Planitar.com, link back to your YouTube channel. Perhaps you could take maybe, I know you have so many great videos, but if you could publish maybe 3 or 5 of your videos in the We Get Around Network forum. We've already started a discussion on Matterport versus iGuide in today's We Get Around Network forum. Is if you could add some videos to that. You can also embed some iframes, some iGuides in the forum. So if you have any just maybe make it a little bit easier for the We Get Around Network forum community to be able to come in the forum, see some of the highlights of the videos that you want to share. Maybe you have some iGuides that you want to share, and then include the links of how to contact you.
And I'll even go so far as to add a few Google tours.
Google. So yes, you can embed Google. That might be really nice to see a side by side of here's what the tour looks like as iGuide, and here's what the tour looks like as Google.
Yeah.
And you can embed those in the We Get Around Network forum, so you can view the tour right there.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for tuning in. Kevin, thank you so much for being a guest today on WGAN-TV live at 5.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan. When am I going to see you next? Will you be at Inman again?
Inman. I don't know what our travel plans are at the moment. Right now, I'm focused on meeting my wife for the weekend. She's already traveling on a business trip, and I'm going to join her. So that's that's my next trip.
Okay.
So
well,
I am sure that we will see each other again in some city at some time.
All right, Dan.
Because I enjoy visiting with you and Alex and your team. So, yeah.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. And thank you all for tuning in today to WGAN TV live at 5. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Thank you again, Kevin, and thank you all for watching. And we'll post this video in the forum in case you missed any part of it, and that'll probably take place very late tonight because I am traveling tomorrow. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Kevin. Bye.